Kadosh, Boker Tov. We're going to continue with Daf Yomi. This is Daf Samech today. However, we're going to start from Nun Tet Amud Bet on the bottom in the Braita. So one important halacha that we have to understand is that there's a difference between Pshute Kli Etz and Pshute Matechet, which means Pshute Kli Etz, any type of wooden utensil which is straight, does not have a receptacle, does not have anything to receive anything, right? So therefore, that's called, it's not Mekabel Tumah. However, Pshute Matechet does Mekabel Tumah, right? Even if it's a straight object which does not have a something in order to a base, in order to receive something, even if it's flat, it still is Mekabel Tumah. So now here there's a Braita. The time we learned in a Braita. What happens if you have the ring made out of matechet and the chotam, which is the seal, right, which is made out of the etz almog? Okay, so we said it's going to be timeah. Why? Because since it's fitting to be mekabel tumah, because the tabat is the ikar, and shuteh kli matechet is mekabel tumah. However, the other way around, which means if the tabat was made out of etz, the tabat was made out of the wood, and the chotam and the seal was made out of the matechet, it's going to be tehorah. It's going to be pure. Okay, Rabbi Nechemia Omer, Nechemia comes and he says, right, as he comes and he says it's mitameh. Why? Shayar Rabbi Nechemia Omer, because Rabbi Nechemia says everything goes after the chotam. Betabat halach achar chotama, which means the ikar is the chotam. So therefore, if it was made out of matechet, even though the body was made out of etz, it's still like matechet. And if the opposite, which means that the chotam is the ikar of the kalim. The same halacha would apply to the ol. The ol was that they used to put on the neck of the animals in order to receive a yoke. You remember they used to do that, especially for the younger animals. That way it becomes accustomed to keeping its head down. So he says, be'ol, halacha simlona. We go after the two poles, which are on the sides. This was these things. Those are the simlonav. Okay, these two things which are coming down. So that means we go after that. If it's out of etz, it's going to be taor. If it's out of matechet, it's going to be tameh. Right? Bekolav. In a kolav, actually nowadays in modern Hebrew, a kolav is a hanger. But in the olden days also was the same thing of hanging things. It's an amud. It's a place where the chenvani, where the storekeeper hangs his schora, hangs his merchandise in order to sell. So this is a kolav. In this picture, where he hangs up things. So nowadays we call it a hanger. Same thing. It's
a shelf.
What?
Is it shelves?
It's like a shelf, but they have like pegs or they have things which you hang things on top of it. Okay? Which does the same thing that we do nowadays with a hanger. What does a hanger does? It hangs up clothing. So the same thing here, you're hanging up things in order to show, right? As a showcase to merchandise for the merchandise. Okay? Now it says, so in the kolav, we go after masmerotav, which are basically the, how do you call it, which are like the pegs which are coming out. So if it's going to be made out of matechet, right, even if the board, the amud was made out of etz, it's pshutei kli matechet, mekabel tumah. If it's the other way around, the other way around. This sulam, in a ladder, halacha shlivutav, we go after the rungs. The rungs are the steps. So you have a big ladder. So even if you had the ladder made out of metal, steps made out of wood, not mekabel tumah. The other way around. The two rows are made out of wood, but the rungs, the steps are made out of metal, mekabel tumah. Be'arsi. What is arsi? There are moznaim gedolot. It says over here, this is the
scale.
The scale, right? So here they're talking about a big scale. Halacha achar shel shlotav. We go after the kvalim shekapot ha'moznaim tluim bahem. The kvalim. So look, in this picture, you have many forms to it. You have here, right? You have these like, how do you know you want to call it, like these chains. You have up here, you have one. You have this part as well. So you have many different parts to the scale. So he says over here, we go after the kvalim shekapot. That means we go after the ones which are where the kapot ha'moznaim, which are the actual parts, are attached to it, right? So he says if it's made out of metal, okay, So then he says over here, if it's made out of metal, so then he says it's going to be mekabel tumah. If it's made out of etz, it's not mekabel tumah. But the chachamim say, no, hakol olech achar ha'ma'amid. Right? The utensil is made out of the basis, is made out of the ma'amid. So therefore, why? Because that's where all the other parts are leaning on this one. So therefore, b'tabat, we go after the body of the tabat, out of the not the seal, but the place where it's holding the seal, right? Whether it is going to be, okay, then it says over here, right? Also the ol, we go after the top part, because the top part is suspending the other two parts coming down on the yoke of the animal, right? The same halacha would apply to the kulav. The kulav, the base is what holds the pegs. So I don't care about the pegs, I care about the base, right? The same thing with the moznaim. We go after the motaroch, which is basically the long, okay, in that book it didn't have the picture, but the motaroch was the long, whether this type of, you see this is the one that it's going downwards or going upwards, but it's basically the long pole or the long metal post or whatever you want to call it. So that's what it goes after. But basically we go after the ma'amid. What is ma'amid is the ikar, which means whatever holds you up, that's the ikar. Okay? Fine. It's very interesting that, this machloket could have a lot of musar in it. You understand? To do with, whether we go after the chotam, because according to Reb Nehemiah, it sounds like we're going after the main concept of the body, which means a ring that has a chotam in it. The main purpose of the chotam, the main purpose of the seal, is the seal. So I don't care what's the support, I care about the ikar. And that's with everything else over there, right? Whether it's going to be the kolav or the moznaim, that is the ikar. However, though the rabbis come and they say that everything goes after the ma'amid, because the support is everything. If you don't have a good support, you could have made out of metal, you could have whatever you want. The support, the base that a person, the foundation that a person builds, that is the main thing out of everything else. All the rest I don't care, because it can have a beautiful seal, but if it doesn't have a strong base, the entire thing is worthless. It's just going to go in the, go in the grass, in the garbage. Oh, but again, just you're just reading and you're just saying, like, look at the difference between them. You see so much musar coming out of every single daf. It's incredible. Fine. Rava Amar. Rava now comes and he wants to answer up the stira between the Masechet Kelim, to do the tabat that has a chutam and doesn't have a chutam, right? So he comes and he says like this. Rava comes and he wants to say, litztadim ktani. What does it mean, litztadim ktani? We're talking about the two types of tabaot, and the kavanah of the Mishnah is, yesh alea chotam tachshid deish, en alea chotam tachshid deisha. He says, if it has a seal, it's a tachshit of a man, because men will take a ring, have a seal on it, and use it as a seal. Okay? However, though, if it doesn't have a chotam, it's a tachshit of a woman. Which means that even though it started by saying these are the tachshitei anashim, these are the tachshitim of women, and then it said whether it has a chotam or doesn't have a chotam, right? There, when it says when it has a chotam, it's talking about the tabat of a man. So it comes out that also this Tana admits that a tabat that has a chotam is not a tachshit for a woman. It's a masah for her, which means it was very common that men would use a seal. So a lot of times they would use a seal, it would be a ring. I actually saw this in Gibraltar. There was a family, right? They
do it in China now.
Which one?
China. When you want to, you go to the bank and to want to sign any letter, you have a tabaat and they just stamp it.
So very good. That's exactly what we're talking about. So I still knew that as an individual in Gibraltar, that they used to have this ring, right? Everyone in the family had the ring. And again, they used to use it as a seal. That was their seal. It was sticking out, it was not engraved inwards, but outwards. So therefore, they used to put it in the ink. And then they used to seal it. They used to sign it. That was their seal. And then they used to wash it off. And then it was very nice. And they used to go. So that was the tachshit. But for a woman, it's a masui. For a woman, it's considered carrying. I guess because in the olden days also, the women didn't have such a job like nowadays that, everything was under the husband. It wasn't like nowadays that you need the women also. No, women have to sign for this and sign for that. But once upon a time, the men did everything, right? Which means that the women didn't have to, it wasn't like she owned property or she owned all the things. So I guess for her, it was considered a masui. Okay? Fine. Next. Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak Amar. Nachman bar Yitzchak comes and he says, there's a third answer. Tum'ah a Shabbat karamit? Are you asking the contradiction between Tum'ah and Shabbat? How do you ask such a contradiction? Because we went and we said about Shabbat, whether it's that you're allowed to go out, you're not allowed to go out, but then we said 1 second, but it's Mekabel Tum'ah. And then so the first answer was, it all depends on what it was made out of. And then we said that sometimes you could have to shoot a kliyet, and then you have one part of it was made out of metal, another part of it was made out of wood. He says, 1 second. Tum'ah, it's written by Tum'ah, Kli ma'aseh amarachmana. Kli ma'aseh means, right, that we're talking about a utensil. So the Torah says any type of a utensil which has whatever purpose for it is mekabel Tum'ah. And it's a kliu, right? Even if it's a tabat that has a chotam, right? And it's not a tachshit, it's a kli ma'aseh. So why? Because it's used for the human being. And therefore, right, to do with hilchot Tum'ah, it's a kli, it's a utensil. Okay? So he says, b'Shabbat, mishum masuya marachmana. To do with Shabbat has nothing to do with whether it's a utensil or not a utensil. It has to do with whether you're carrying something or not, because it's considered a masui. And it's not a malbush or a tachshit. Therefore, en alea chotam, if it doesn't have the seal, it's a tachshit for a woman. And therefore, it's permitted for her to go out. But the chachamim gazru, because again, maybe she's going to take it off and show it to people. But if it has a chotam, masui, then it's a masui for a woman, and she's not allowed to take it out, midoraita. So that's just two different, again, a different way of answering it, that even according to Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, so even according to Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak here, it says it's machloket rishonim. Does he agree with that or not? But the concept that we're talking about is that it has nothing to do with, because we were trying to answer up with Tum'ah and Shabbat together. Right? So he says, how do you ask that? He says, we said that a woman is not allowed to go out with a tabat that has a chotam to the Mishnah that it is mekabel tumah. He says it's two completely different concepts. If it has a chotam, it's always mekabel tumah. And the reason why it's a kli, it's a utensil. It serves a human being to sign things. However, though Shabbat has nothing to do with a kli or not a kli. Shabbat it has to do with whether it's considered carrying or not carrying. So he says if it has a chotam, and therefore it's not considered a tachshit, so therefore, right, it's a masui, it's carrying, and therefore it's going to be prohibited. Fine. Now we're on the two dots where it says in the Mishnah, where we said, Velo b'machat she'en nekuva. You remember a woman is not allowed to go out with a machat, with a needle that does not have the hole. Okay, but if she does go out, it's not chayevet chatat. So says the Gemara, 1 second. If it's not chayevet chatat, meaning it's still fitting for something, meaning it has to be like a drabanan here. So the question is, l'may chazia, what can you do with this needle that you said that if she does go out, she's patur, right? I mean, she's not chayevet. Why? What can you do with this needle? So Amar Rav Yosef says, Hol v'isha get b'se'ara. He says, no, you know what a woman uses it for? A woman does use it, right, as a tachshit, because she gathers her hair together with this needle, right? Which means here you got two pictures, Machloket Rashi and Tosot. This is according to Rashi, right? That she's putting it underneath the hair, right? And she's holding it together, right? And here she's gathering her hair over here. This is the picture according to Tosafot. Okay, so Machloket Rashi and Tosafot. It says over here, Rashi says, right? Kol chatos saviv machat v'tochevet machat b'shikvat tachtea. So she puts it underneath the kisui rosh. According to Tosafot, tochevet machat b'toch hasivcha, right? She puts it inside the kisui rosh, right? Sarotea, in order that her hair does not fall. So it's two different explanations, but it's the same concept. Basically, she's using it to gather for her hair. So it says the Gemara, Amalei Abaye says, L'tehavi kibirit teora. Says 1 second. So then this machat should be like a birit. A birit is like an etzada, which is put by the gerev lashok. It's like here. It's by the socks. The top picture. Right here. By the top of the socks, in order that the socks, nowadays, you have like these control tops, or you have all these types of things that it has a strong, even nowadays you have it in the socks and all these things that at the top, it has a stronger layer so it just doesn't fall. Because if not, why doesn't the entire thing just fall down? So here it says here, they used to do the same thing for the socks. They used to put around the top part of the socks, they used to put the birit, okay? Which was like another string or another strap or whatever. So you used to keep it that it would stay up and it wouldn't fall down. So it says here, so 1 second, this should be like a birit, right? Which is tehorah, which means there we learned that it's tehorah mikabel tumah, and you're allowed lechatchila to go out with it on Shabbat. So then why did we say over here that first of all, it's mikabel tumah, and number two, it's not, meaning lechatchila, don't go out with this machat on Shabbat. If it's like a birit, you wouldn't be permitted to go out with it on Shabbat. So why would it be prohibited? V'tishrei, it should be permitted. So the answer is the Gemara, Elatir Gemara Ravada Nasha Kamed Rav Yosef. Rather, Ravada Nasha came and he taught it in the name of Rav Yosef. He says, Hoil v'isha choleket b'seara. He says, no, because she comes and she makes like a shvil, right? Meaning like she makes this is what? She makes how do you call this? She makes like first like a line in her hair, and then she spreads out the hair to the two sides. How do you call that line?
I'm not
I'm not expert. I know in Hebrew it's called a shvil because that's also in the wigs. By the way, you should know. In the wigs,
there's no translation. They said the woman parts her hair.
Okay, she parts her hair to the two different parts, and she makes like the line in the middle that shows the scalp. So in the wigs, you should know, they never had that, which means in the wigs, they never had the scalp showing and like the separation, the parting. But recently, in the past few years, they did start making it in the wigs because then it looks more natural. Because once upon a time, since they never had that scalp, so it was all hair. So everyone knew it was a wig. But then they wanted to make it look more natural, so they started making it with a part in the middle, and then like the shvil alavan. The shvil is like a road. So it's like a road. It's like an empty area, right, which they come and they split. So I know that a lot of poskim, what they used to say is that if a woman did buy that, because that became the only thing that they had anymore, and to find one with that was very difficult, so they had to color it. And by
asur bepe'ah.
Okay. When they paint it, so then by painting it, so that's how they were able to get out of it. Do you know that there's a lot of books that permit it? You know what I mean?
I know, but not according to the Sephardim.
I'm going to tell you what Rav Benaim always used to say. Rav Benaim used to tell us the first person to permit the wig was a Shiltei HaGiborim, a Sfaradi. The first person to prohibit the wig was a Be'er Sheva, an Ashkenazi.
Yeah, I have it.
He used to tell us, so this entire thing of making, how do you call it? Politics, Sfaradim, Ashkenazim. You're right.
No, it's not about politics. It's about the PA, sur the PA, because, it's because, like, having hair on top of the hair is like, like, what you covering?
Okay, we're going to see it, actually. When we're going to speak about Hotzah, we're going to see it about the woman's allowed to go out with hair of her friend on her head. That if a woman was bald, she was able to put on the hair of her friend on her hair and go out with it.
Right.
There, the whole answer, it's in the same reshut. It's not really in the public. It's in
Exactly.
That's what they tried to answer, but it's, you understand? Meaning that there's a lot of what to talk about. Now, Michael Peretz has an entire book. Rabbi Shalom Mesas has pages and pages just on this. Vasaya used to give a shiur just on, Shitat Rabbi Shalom Mesas on wigs. You understand? So, again, and that's all the Rosh Yeshivot also, whether it's the Toledanos, the Rav Benaims, all of them, all the Rabbanim, they were, so listen, to...
Each one is on his own Shita,
No, 100%. And by the way, you should know...
Benayahu, he have introduced now that any abrech that he have his wife wearing a pe'ah, he's not taking him anymore.
Who said that?
Rabbi Benayahu.
Harav who?
Benayahu, you know Shmueli?
No, I don't know. Where is he from?
It's Bet El. He said like any abrech that he had his wife having a PA, he's not taking him anymore. He had he'd be mahmir.
Okay. But by the way, you should know though that in Chutz La'aretz there are more mekilim. You know that?
Yes, of course.
I heard firsthand from whether it's Rav Yinon Yonah or others that they asked Rav Ovadia themselves.
Yes.
What about in Chutz La'aretz? And in Chutz La'aretz there were much more mekilim.
Of course.
Mekilim. Whether it was to get married to a woman that's going to put on a piyah, or whether it was that the people's wives wear piyot. And one of the reasons also apparently, I remember hearing by one of the Rabbanim is because if you're in Eretz Yisrael and everyone's going to go like that, so then okay, fine. So then there's no problem. You understand? Meaning, okay, fine. Kol hakavod. He says, how do you do it in Chutz La'aretz? You understand? You go right now, you go to work, right? You're going to a business, and you have all these guyot, and you have all these women. They're all dressed very nicely. They're all, they're trying to be moshechet ayin. They're trying to attract the eye. And all of a sudden you go home and your wife miskina is with a you understand? She's with a shmata. What, you're not going to put your eyes on somebody else, chas v'shalom, outside. You understand? So therefore, that's why they said that apparently, if I remember correctly, in Chutz La'aretz, they're much more mekilim on that. Because they recognize what's going on the outside, which means that they know that and that was a story in the Gemara and Tanit with the wife of, when she went to the entrance of the city and she was beautifully dressed, and then she went all the way home, and then he asked them who came into the house first, and then they asked him for rain, and then he immediately prayed and the rain came down, and I forgot the name. Okay, whatever, but it's a Gemara and Tanit, and they are based on that story. They asked her, why did you come out all beautifully dressed to the entrance of the city? So she said, in order that when the husband sees her, he's only putting his eyes on her and not on anybody else. Right? It's a famous Gemara. I don't remember just the name. I would have to look it up. Fine, but okay.
Okay.
So anyway, that was the politics for today. Okay. So then it says like this, yeah? I lost the place. So he answered, he said, since a woman parts her hair with this machat, so therefore he says what happens is that that's why it's going to be right. It's going to give another reason why it's going to be a sur, which means like this. If right now you're going to tell me, because we're going back, we just said that a machat that does not have a hole, which means that you can't use it for sewing, it's if she goes out with it, it's not mutar lechatchila, but if she did go out with it, it's okay. So we said why? Because a woman could come and use it in her kisui rosh. So the Gemara asks, if you're doing that, and you're doing it in order to hold the hair, so then lechatchila you should be able to go out with it, just like by the socks. But lechatchila you're allowed to go out with this strap around the socks to keep it up. So the Gemara says, no, you're right. It's not because of that reason. Because if it was only because of that reason, it would be permitted to go out with the reshut rabim with it. But rather it's because a woman does use it. What does she use it for? To make the parting in her hair, to split her hair. So he says, so therefore, what could she do on Shabbat? Obviously on Shabbat, you're not allowed to do that because you're not allowed to comb, you're not allowed to do all these things. So he says, so if she's going to do it, it's going to be chayav chatat then. So Rava says, tas shel zahav yesh la rosha. A woman has the tas shel zahav, right? Which is basically, it's fixed in her hair, right? Which is this tas shel zahav. It doesn't have the picture, but okay. Which is basically, again, the tas shel zahav is like the golden head plate. Okay, but it's in her hair. Bechol, right? When it's during the weekday, choleket ba se'ara, she comes and she spreads the hair. Okay, Shabbat, and on Shabbat, manichata keneged padachta. She's going to place this keneged padachta, which is basically mul the forehead as an adornment. So therefore, even on Shabbat, it's not really a masa, it's like a tachshit. But still, the rabbis prohibited it because maybe she's going to take it off and show it to her friends. So here, this is it. This is the tash shel zahav on the bottom. That she puts it on her forehead on Shabbat. During the weekday, it's on top. It's actually on the hair. Okay? Fine. Mishnah. Okay? So it says Mishnah. Lo yetze ha'ish, a man is not allowed to go out. Not with a sandal misumar, not with a sandal that the surya, the sole, right, is made out of wood. And you have pieces of ore which are covering it. Right? It says over here. This is sandal misumar.
It was nail.
Yeah.
Like metal nail. Yeah.
Yeah, over here. This is a sandal misumar. So you have
What's next? What's the next? This is like a golf shoes.
Yeah, this is the masmirot. It's showing you the nails and the ore.
Got it. But so I mean, in today's age, we do.
Yeah, well, obviously today we have an eruv.
Okay.
Saying even without an eruv.
So what's the difference between the nail and the stitching?
Let me see what it says here.
Sorry, Rabbi.
Sorry. No. The Gemara is going to say. The Gemara is going to explain why. Okay. It's the beginning of the Gemara. My time out. What's the reasoning? And then we're going to say about the gezerot and everything. So let's see in the Gemara. However, though, again, one more time, the Mishnah says we're not supposed to go out with a sandal misumar, which is basically the sandal that the surya, right? The sole is made out of wood, and then you have pieces of leather on top, okay? And it's going to be connected. Velo biyachid, or not with a sandal by itself. Interesting. Even if it's not misumar. So I guess it's only just on one foot, okay? Even if it's not misumar, it doesn't have these nails, okay? Bizman she'en peraglo makah, if, right, why? Because if he did have a makah, it would be permitted to go out with a sandal yachid. Meaning if a person had a wound on his foot, he would be permitted to put on a one shoe, okay? But if not, then he's not allowed to. Velo betfilin, a person is going to go out with tefillin on Shabbat, which obviously we're going to speak about that anyway. Tefillin you're not supposed to have on Shabbat, but we'll speak about that. Velo bekamiyah, not with a kamiyah, which is again the amulet for refuah and all these things. If it's not going to be a certain that it's going to heal. Velo b'shidyon, person cannot go out with a shidyon. A shidyon was the armor. There was a better word for it. Oh. Okay, this is the picture of a shidyon we're going to see later on. It's like an armor. You see it?
A coat of mail.
A coat of?
Mail. M-A-I-L. Mail.
Nail, the metal nail.
Okay. Velo bekasta. Kasta, I think even today in modern Hebrew, they have the same word. It's just like the hat that they used to put for the army. That's a
helmet.
Yeah, the
helmet.
Okay. Then it says, Velo b'magafaim, not with nale barzel. Again, these are like boots, right, that the anshet tzava, those soldiers wear in war in order to protect basically their feet until their knees. But if a person did go out with a Shabbat and all these things, eno chayav chatat, he's not chayav chatat, right? But at the end of the day, again, it's a clothing or it's a tachshit, and therefore it's not carrying. So therefore it's only assumed they're banan. Okay? So in all these things, it's only assumed they're banan, not toraita. Okay? Next. Okay? Sandala misumar. When we're talking about this sandal, which is misumar, maitama, what's the reasoning why bemet the rabbis prohibit to go with this sandal or not? So Shmuel says, sorry. What does that mean? It was a story with Jews that they ran away during the time of Shmad. Right? So they ran away. And they were, what's it called? They were hiding in a cave. So they went and they said, anybody that wants to go into the cave can go in. Right? That means basically, because there's a chazakah that they have to check that there's no, that there's nobody that went in there or whatever it is. However, though, don't try to come out, right? Because then we don't know, be'emet, if be'emet, when they're going to come out, whether the enemy is going to be there or not. You understand? You understood what happened or not?
Could you repeat, Rabbi?
One more time. So basically it says like this. There was a story that Jews were running away from their enemies during the time of Shmad. Okay? So now what happened? during this time that they were running away, they used to hide in caves. Okay? So he says, so what happened was, when they used to go and hide in a cave in order to learn Torah, to do say tefillah and everything, so what did they used to say? They used to say, Hanichnas yikanes. Anybody that wants to come in with us is allowed to go in with us. Right? Why? Because then they're going to make sure that there's nobody, that's coming in, after us. So they all come in together at the same time. However, though, ayotze, al yitzeh. But if you want to go out, you're not allowed to leave the cave. Why? Because then if you're going to go out, how are you going to check that there's no enemy right there? And then what's going to happen is they're going to realize where we are in the cave, and then they're going to strike us. Which means we wanted everybody to come in at the same time, no problem. So we all go in. But now you can't come out. Because imagine, I'm the enemy. I come and I see a Jew coming out of a cave over there. I'm going to say, you know what? Maybe there's a whole bunch of Jews there. And then I go in and I kill everybody out. And they're stuck. They're trapped. They're in a cave. What do you want them to do? They can't escape. There's nothing, nowhere to go. So because of that, they said, Hanichnas yikanes, hayotze al yitzeh, but don't come out. Okay? So what happened? Right? When they came inside of the cave, nepach sandalo shel echad mehem. Right? Which means it went on the other side. So because of that, it shows that they were coming out of the cave. So kisvurinhem, so when they came into it, they thought echamen yatsa. They thought somebody came out of the cave. V'ra'uhu oivim. So they suspected maybe the oivim found them. V'achshav ba'in alehem. So now they're coming to them. So what happened? All of a sudden there was a big, they come, and all of a sudden they see that the shoe, right, was backwards. So since the shoe was backwards and it made an imprint in the ground, right, they thought that all of a sudden what happened is that they caught them, right, and they were coming to get them. So what happened? It says here, Shenal etzadalav afuchim, right? That means it was the other way around. So it was coming out of the me'ara, right? So it says over here, right? So what happened? So it says, right? And now the enemy is going to come to them and they're going to kill them. Which means kilu, the enemy came and then they left. How do you know they left? Because they saw that there was footprints going out of the cave. Now they don't let anybody go out of the cave. So that means they realized that somebody probably came to the cave, then they walked out, right? And they're getting the enemy to come kill them. So what happened? What happened is that more people there.
Basically, nefach sindalo means what's it? It's a nes. Happened a nes?
No. It wasn't a nes. Naturally, this person put his shoe. Put it this way. Many times children, they switch their shoes. They put the right one on the left and the left on the right. Yeah? So that's nowadays. Yes. In the olden days, the same shoe sometimes could have been worn the other way around.
Got it. There's no one, not the left and right.
Not left and right, but the other way around, meaning backwards and forwards. So yes. If I'm walking forwards, but my shoe is towards the back, it looks like I'm walking backwards. Yeah? So what is that this guy is coming into the cave. Remember, everybody's coming into the cave at the same time. Okay? So this guy's coming into the cave, and all of a sudden it looks like he left the cave. So when everyone starts leaving the cave and they see these imprints like this, they start saying, whoa, what's going on over here? They're going to kill us. They start running. They start pushing each other. And more people died because of these shoes. Right? That's what it says here. They killed each other with the masmirim shebesan lehem. Right? I don't know exactly how. I guess the nails. Because since they're running, right? So, and they step on people, the nails will actually kill people because the nails were very thick. So what happened is that all of a sudden, there were more people that died because of these masmirim than what the enemies actually came and actually killed them. Right, so basically
they kill each other.
What?
They kill each other.
Yeah, they killed each other without kavanah because they were running, so they were stepping on each other's feet, and again, these nails were thick. They killed them. So a lot of people were dying. So there were much more people that died because of these nails than the actual enemies. right? So that was one version of the story. Another version of the story, Rabbi Eli ben Elazar Omer, במערה היו יושבים, they were in the מערה, ושמעו קול מעל גבי המערה, but they heard a voice from on top of the מערה, right? Which means they heard on top of the cave as if that there was an enemy there. כאילו, כי סורין היו שבאו עליהם אביב, so they thought that they came in, and then they started running. So so again, the same thing. Because it was so dangerous, these type of shoes, if they were calm, nothing would have happened. But the fact that they got all nervous and they were running, it killed more people. So that's why they prohibited it. Okay? A third version of the story. Rami bar Yechezkel Amar, bebet knesset ayushin. They weren't in a cave. They were in the Bet Knesset. Veshamu kol me'achorei Bet Knesset. They heard people from the back of the Bet Knesset. So they thought that the enemies came in. So that time they said, so from then on they said, you're not allowed to go with these shoes. These shoes are too dangerous. Okay? Fine. So ask the Gemara, if so, if you're going to tell me that the time of the Gezerah was because this sandal, right, brought this tragedy, this calamity on them, the whole nami litzar, so it should be prohibited even during the weekday. What do I care about Shabbat? Even during the weekday, it's the same thing. So says the Gemara, Masechet Shabbat Daf. No, the story was on Shabbat. So they made a decree on the Shabbat. So says the Gemara, Yom Tov l'shtireh, fine. So prohibit on Shabbat. During the weekday, it's permitted. During this Yom Tov, it should be permitted. So Lama Tzanan, so what do we learn in the Mishnah? Samech Hamubet. Mishalchin kelim. Oh, should we skip this? This is in brackets. Right? Aval lo sandal. Right? Misumar v'lo minal shenu tefur. That means you're not allowed to go out on Yom Tov. Not with a sandal misumar, not minal shenu tefur. So why not? So answers the Gemara, no, you're right. The Shabbat ma'itama, what's the reasoning why Shabbat was prohibited? Hika knufia, because there's a lot of people in the Bet Knesset, the Bet Nashot. So therefore, beyond, right? And therefore, that's why only then it was prohibited. During the weekday, it's not as many people. So therefore, and you see it even till today. You go to Bet Knesset during the weekday, it's empty compared to Shabbat. On Shabbat, it's full. So therefore, they're saying on Shabbat, there was so many people, there was a masses, it was all, so therefore it was a problem. So there was tons of people that were killed. During the weekday, since there's much more room, much more space, they weren't killed, so they never made the decree. So it says, Yom Tov nami knufia. But also Yom Tov, there's a lot of people, right? Right? So therefore, that's why in Yom Tov also was the prohibition. So prohibition was Shabbat and Yom Tov, but not during the weekday. So says the Gemara, what about Tanit Tzibur? Tanit Tzibur also Ika Knufia. This is incredible how even during the time of the Gemara, it was the same thing as nowadays. Nowadays, you see Tanit, the Bet Knesset is packed. It's not a Tanit, half empty. It's incredible. The exact same, things haven't changed, I see. Okay? So it says over here, Tanit Tzibur, Ika Knufia. Also by Tanit Tzibur, there's a lot of people. Litzar should be prohibited. So he says, no, Maaseh Kihava Beknufia de Isura. He says the Maaseh happened right on Shabbat, which is, it's a sur to do melacha. Here, Kinufia de Terava. Here, you're allowed to do melacha on the Tanit, and therefore it wasn't the same case. So they didn't want to make the decree. Okay? Va'afilu l'Reb Chanina ben Akiva, and even according to Reb Chanina ben Akiva, Damar that he said lo asru la biyarden, right? Uvesfina uchmaaseh shaya. He said it was only going to be prohibited in the Yarden and on a boat, and exactly like the story that happened, and not in any other way. Hanemila, when are these words of Reb Chanina ben Akiva? Yarden, the Shani Misharnarot, the Yarden, which was different than all other rivers. Okay? Because you know that the Yarden is different than any other river. And therefore, you could make a differentiation between the Gezerah. Okay? Then it says, Aval Yom Tov Shabbat, ki adad ininu, but Yom Tov and Shabbat are the same thing. Itnan, and ben Yom Tov Shabbat, nefesh bilvad. That's what we learned in the Mishnah Megillah. The only difference between Yom Tov and Shabbat was only ochel nefesh. Other than that, they're all the same halachot. Okay? Fine. Amar Rav Yehuda Shmuel. Says Rav Yehuda the name of Shmuel. Lo shanu ela lechazek. Aval lenoi mutar. It's a sur to go out with a sandal mesubar b'Shabbat only when the masmerot, when the nails are lechazek, are strengthening the or which is coming and putting into the shoe. However, though, if it says a noi, if these masmerot, if these nails are making the shoe more beautiful, it's mutad. You're allowed to go out with it. Let me just check if he has. No. I guess it was basically just of beauty. The kama lenoi, how much, right? How many
Punk shoes.
Which one?
The punk shoes, those was masmirot.
Yeah, I guess so. It's something nice or whatever. I don't know. Well, I guess we'll see. So he says the kama lenoi. How many nails do you put in, and is it considered as a nice thing and not as lechizuk? Rabbi Yochanan amar chamesh b'zeh v'chamesh b'zeh, 5 and 5. Rabbi Chanina amar sheva b'zeh v'sheva b'zeh, 7. This is just a 7 right here, Rabbi Chanina. Okay? So what does that mean? According to Rabbi Yochanan, now he says, Amal Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Shimon bar Abba, Esper alach. So Rabbi Yochanan comes and he explains. I'm going to explain to you what does that mean. Ledidi, according to me, that I say that it's only going to be 5 meals is permitted. Shtai mikan u'shtai mikan, 2 on each side. Okay? Ve'achat betar siyotav. And 1 you're going to have, right? Right? And 1 is going to be tarsiyotav. What is tarsiyotav? At the top or the bottom? At the back. It's this picture. The tarsiyotav is the back of the shoe. So you have two on each side, and then 1 on the back. This is according to Shtat Rabbi Yochanan. Okay? And according to Rabbi Chanina, shalosh mikam v'shalosh mikam v'achad tarsiyotav. No, you have 3 and 3, and 1 in the back. So that was this picture. 1 on the top. 3 and 3, and 1 on the back. Okay? So it says the Gemara.
What's the difference? I don't understand. What's the difference?
No, basically he was just explaining the difference she taught. He's saying, according to me, that I say 5, because it's 2 and 2, meaning 2 and 2, 1 on the back. According to 1-7, 3 and 1 on the back. 3 and 3 and 1 on the back. Okay? So so we're gonna ask the question, right? Sandal hanote oselo sheva divre Rabbi Natan veRabbi Matir 13. So he says, 1 second. There's a question in Rabbi Yochanan from a Braita. The Braita says the sandal, which the sulya is very, very thick. The sole is very, very thick, right, on one side, and very daka on the other side. So it's very thick on one side, very narrow on the other side. So it comes out that it's like leaning, right? That means it's not even, the sole of the shoe. Oselo sheva, you're allowed to do sheva, right? Why do you do sheva? You do sheva mesminot betzad hadak in order to hang it together. And you're allowed to do that on Shabbat. These words are out of Rebbe. Rebbe permits even 13 masmirot. So Bishlam and Rabbi Chanina, it's good according to Rabbi Chanina that he was permitted 7 on any type of a shoe for beauty, right, for an adornment. But then you could say, Udamar Rabbi Natan, it was heels like Rabbi Natan, that he permitted, right, this amount, right, in a regular shoe. And Rabbi Yochanan, according to Rabbi Yochanan, that he said it was only Udamar Kamal. Who's he going like that? He says there's only 5. Here it's either 7 or 13. So according to Rabbi Chanina says 7. It's like Rabbi Natan, which says 7. But according to Rabbi Yochanan, who does he go like? So answers the Gemara, who damar, he goes like Rabbi Neorai. The Tanya was Rabbi Neorai says, 5 mutar, 7 asur. 5 is mutar, 7 is asur. So that was part of the Braita as well, that we didn't have it. And now he's bringing it down. So therefore, Rabbi Yochanan goes according to that shita as well. So Amale Eifa le Rabbi Rechana. Says Eifa to Rabbi Rechana. Tun tamided Rabbi Yochanan. Avidu, you are the students of Rabbi Yochanan. Avidu Rabbi Yochanan, you guys have to do like Rabbi Yochanan, which is only 5. Ana, we, which we are Navi, we are not the students of Rabbi Yochanan. We could do like Rabbi Chanina, and we're allowed to go out with 7. Again, it's basically just a machloket. How many nails are you allowed to put, and is it still considered a noi, and is not considered lechazek, to strengthen it? Okay? Ravuna comes and he asks from Ravashi, Chamesh Mahu, if you have 5 on each shoe, what's the halacha? Are you allowed to put it on or not? Amalei, he says, Afilu Sheva mutar. What are you talking about? Even 7 is permitted. Teisha Mai, are you allowed to 9? Amalei, Afilu Shmone Asur. No. Because if I said 7, 7 is 7. So don't ask me on 9. Even 8 is going to be prohibited. Okay? So there was a sanlar, a shoemaker, they asked from Rabbi Yami. Tefaromi bifnim mahu. What's halacha if you're going to come and you're going to make the tefillot on the inside? So here it says, by the way, this was the dak in the aveh of the sandal. Look, you have one part is very dark, right? Very, is very, very dark. Another part which is very aveh. So therefore here you're putting them, right? All these, right? For the, how many masminot? You have the masminot here on the bottom. You see them? Okay? Now the other one, where we said tafromi bifnim, right? Rashi says, Shenatan min al shel or lifnim min sandal. So inside, you put like another shoe inside of the shoe. This is like like they do with skates. They have like a shoe in a shoe, so it's the same thing. This is a minal shel or, right, of leather inside of a shoe. Okay? So it says, tafromi bifnim mahu, amale mutar. But I don't know why it's mutar. Amalo Ravashi says, Ravashi, velo yada maitama, velo yada mor maitama. You don't know the reasoning. Keman the tafromi bifnim. Since you sewed it on the inside, havele minal. It's not a sandal. It's a shoe. So the sandal gazu berabanam minal. So they only made a decree on the sandal, not on the shoe. Okay. Another question. What happens if you made it like a klavus? Klavus is like this. This is like the klavus. So it says over here, what is klavus? Kafaf masmer bal shnei rashim. Right? Basically, it's like a staple that you're putting it inside of it. Okay? What's the halakha? Are you allowed to go out with that or not? Samaleh mutar, he said it's permitted. The Chachamim did not make a prohibition only with a sandal that was the story. The story was a sandal that had the nails, not the sandal that had like a staple. Okay, Itmar Nami was also stated. Amar Rav Yosef Chanina, so can mean klavus mutar. It's permitted. Amar Rav Sheshat says, Chipau kulo b'masmerot, right? Kedesh shelo te'eh karka ochlato mutar. Also, if you put the entire sulia with nails, in order that it does not actually ruin the sole of the shoe, it's also permitted to put on the Shabbat. Because basically, we only did it, we only prohibited it because of the story that there was done as chizuk, but not for hagana. There was done to strengthen the shoe, not to protect the shoe from not being ruined. So this is this one. It's all full of nails. Why? To protect the sole. So that's going to be permitted. Okay? Tanya Kavated Rav Sheshat, we also learned in according to Rav Sheshat, Lo yetze aish b'sandala mesumar. You're not allowed to go with a sandal which has these nails. Velo yitayeh mibayit lebayit, afilu mitar mitar, not from one room to another room, or not from one bed to another bed, right? With this shoe, with this sandal. But you're allowed to carry it in order to cover a utensil or in order to support a bed, okay? Because it's still a kli, okay? And then you're doing it l'tzor gufo, l'tzor mekumo. Rabbi Elazar ben Shimon said, he says it's a sur completely. Why? Because Chachamim were machminim even more than a regular kli shenachtul sur. Because maybe you're going to put it on. So they said it's always a sur. Okay? Next, this was a case of supporting the bed with it. This case right here. Okay? Then it says, Nashru rov mesmirotav nishtaribo arba o chamesh mutar. What happens if the majority of the nails came out and there's only a few nails left? Right? So he says over here it's going to be mutar. Rebbe Matir ad sheva. Rebbe Matir, even if they stayed until 7. Okay? So he says if the majority came out and there's only left 4 or 5, it's mutar. Rebbe says even if they stayed 7 nails, it's still mutar. What happens if you put or on the bottom and then you put the masmirot on the top part? It's this one. So you did the opposite way. Here's the etz, the wood, and then there's the or. And you have the nails connecting them. So he says it's going to become permitted. If you made it like the klavus, which is again the keres bal shnei klashim, right? Or kemin tas, or like tas, or kemin yated. So he says like this. If you made it kemin tas or kemin yated, that means you made the nail like a tas. This is a tas. This is the yated, like a peg, and this is a masmer. So the nails are going to be prohibited. If you made it like this, it's permitted. It's like a thumbtack or like a peg. It's going to be permitted. Okay? Hagufa Kashias asked the Gemara, that in itself is a question. Amarta nashru rov masmerotav. You just told me that if the majority of the nails came out, even though the majority still stayed there, right? That means not the majority, but a lot of them still, meaning the majority fell out, but you still have a lot of them there. But then you told me, no, only arba or chamesh in, tefillah, only 4 or 5, yes, but not more. Which means, this was the right that we just said here, Nashru rov masminotav. Rov means majority. If you have 20, if 11 came out, it's okay, but they still say 9. But then all of a sudden you tell me, no, nishtayir only 4 or 5, or according to Rebbe, 7. How does that work? So he says, Amar Rav Sheshet. Rav Sheshet says, look, Hashem, that's not a question. Kan shenigmemu, the kan shenekru. We're talking about the first brighter where it says 4 or 5, nigmemu. Nigmemu means they didn't come out. It became equal to the soul. The kan shenekru. But however, though, when we come and we say how many that it's 4 or 5 that are left over, it's nekru. They completely came out. So it looks like it was done like that from the beginning. Meaning, if you have all those nails there and it became flat, or the majority came flat with a shoe, then you, even if the majority, as long as the majority was flat, even if you have 10, 11, doesn't matter. It's all permitted. Why? Because you see what happened. However, though, if they completely came out, so when I'm looking, I only see 4 or 5. It looks like lechatchila you did it that way. So then you could only do 4 and 5, or according to Rebbe, you could have 7 there. Okay? Another question. Arba or chamesh mutar, 4 or 5 mutar, hashta chamesh shari arba. If 5 is permitted, why do I have to say 4 or 5? Why do you have to say 4 or 5 are left over? It's mutar. Just tell me 5 and it's mutar. Why do I need the 4? Samar of chasta, arba is a misnal kantar. 4 if it's a small sandal, 5 if it's a big sandal. Okay? So that also answers that up. Next, the Rebbe matirat sheva. Rebbe permits 7. Tanya Rebbe matirat shlosh. I thought we learned in the Braita above that Rebbe permitted until 13, not 9. He permitted until 13. So says the Gemara, noteh shani. No, he permitted 13 only when it's noteh, when it was thin on one part and thick on the other part. That's when he permitted it. But if not, he doesn't permit 13. So hashta datilachi. Now that you just said that, the Rabbi Yochanan amikashe. So then also Rabbi Yochanan there wasn't a question. Why did we ask over there a question of Yochanan and we had to answer that Rabbi Yochanan was going like Rabbi Nehorai, that he said 5. Now that you just answered that, also Rabbi Yochanan that question. No, Teshani, it's different over there. And that's why maybe he permitted even until 7. Okay? And therefore, it's not really a question anymore, according to Rabbi Yochanan. Okay? Clear until here?
Yes.
But then
Yes.
the no.
Okay. Amar of Matna. Matna says, Ramila, Amar of Achtabui bar Matna, Amar of Matna. Some people say, Rav Achtabui bar Matna, Amar Matna. En alacha ke Rabbi Elazar Rabbi Shimon. The alacha is not like Rabbi Elazar Rabbi Shimon. So ask the Gemara, Pshita, obviously, Yachiv Rabim, alacha ke Rabim. The alacha is like Rabim, not like an individual. So he says, no. Mao the tema, I would have thought to say, Nisabra tamad Rabbi Elazar Rabbi Shimon beha, that the logical reason of Rabbi Elazar Rabbi Shimon is to have said even the tzorah kufo, right? Because if not, you're going to put it on. Kamash Malan comes to teach you like we paskin. Rav Matna comes in and says, no, the halakha is like the Rabim. And therefore, you're allowed to move it tzorah kufo tzorah mekomo, like usual, right? But again, we would have thought that was logical to say like him. So Amr B'chia says B'chia, he loved the karuli bavlai shari sure. If it wasn't that people call me the Babylonian, that I'm always matida surim, sharinu metu, I would have permitted even much more, right? The sandal mesuma with even a lot of the nails. The kama, so how many bemet would you have permitted, right? So think about it. He had a nickname that he was always the one permitting things, so that's why he didn't want to do that. So he said, but how many? How many nails would you have permitted? 24. Mesura amnin, 22. Amr of Nachman, Yitzhak, Nachman Yitzhak, the simanach, what's the siman to remember? Until you came from Pumbedita to Surah, you were lacking another 2. So that's why it was 24, 22. That's how you remember. From going from Pumbedita to Surah, you were only at 22 instead of 24. Okay? Fine. So, Blina, we're going to stop here, and tomorrow, Bezrat Hashem, we're going to continue